Great.
Until Connie gets here, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll review and approve the minutes. Does anyone have any changes or corrections to the minutes of the February 20th meeting? Do you have a copy for us to sign?
Yeah, that's right here. I'm going to be sending this around with a blue pen. I think it's the second page. Before I get it there.
If there aren't any amendments to the meeting minutes, can I get a motion to approve?
Hello.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, Becky, ready for financial report?
Okay, you'll see in your packet your list of occupancy partners. You can review that. Most everybody is done really well this winter in filing their zero reports. I think we finally got everybody educated to that. Of course, this time of year, receipts are fairly low, but we're still holding our own. But if you look at the first page of your financial report, the total reconciled cash balance in the bank at the end of February was $100,959. I've got about $1,475 in receipts to deposit. Our due date is March the 20th, so we'll be getting some more in for the month of February. But they will just dribble in. We had some, we still got to transfer some salaries. I think I'm kind of holding your money in there, kind of get you some more interest. But before long, I'll be transferring salaries. We've got about $2,900 in bills that we paid this week in March. And then I've encumbered about $8,000 for costs of the brochure. And I believe Tabitha's got another motorcycle show, is that correct? Some kind of show to go to later this month. So I went ahead and just encumbered it to give you a true balance.
What show
So
is
right
that?
now, pardon?
What show is that?
Leesburg show in Florida.
That's the only motorcycle show we've done this year, right?
Yeah, that and a boat show, and that's it so far. So the IMS in November, the one that usually leads all, is something good for us to do. And then we also last year had a whole bunch of stuff come up in the summer that we were interested in, but we held off. We wanted to see a little bit about the budget. If you guys remember back in February, we wanted to see where we were going to be. So with the encumbrances, that's what Becky's trying to show us where our balance is right now, which will help us make some of those decisions.
So what we've got available right now for as expenditures is $72,018. This time last year, we had $65,600. And then if you look at the bottom of the page, we've squirreled away $6,714 in capital reserve. So if you take the 72 and the 6 and compare that to the 66, we're kind of ahead of the game, and that's a good place to be. Our taxes collected through the end of February for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 14 are right at $90,000, $89,982. We're tracking slightly ahead of this time last year of $90,915. And you'll note that we do have a couple of taxpayers that they've submitted their reports for the months of October and November. And I've been working with them quite frequently to jog some payment. They do owe right at $10,000. They promised me that they will have the money to me by the end of March or early April. And then, of course, I'll be calculating late payment penalties. They filed the reports on time, they just didn't make the payment. So I'll be adding the late payment penalties at that time. So that will hopefully kind of push us a little bit ahead once we receive that. If you look at page 2, this is just the detail on some of the areas that I've already reported on, but right now we're standing year-to-date at a surplus of $779.04. And you'll notice for the month of February, we spent out about $6,000. We got about $6,800 in. The budget is on page 3. Budget's looking pretty good. Overall, your total budgeted expenditures are $157.5. You've spent $92.3. I've encumbered the 8. So that's gonna leave about $65,000 in your budget to expend. Your ideal remaining percentage as of today is 30%. You have 41% of your budget left. The largest area is gonna be in your advertising and promotion, so that does leave you some more room if there's some other areas that you wanna concentrate on that you've not already made decisions about. That's gonna leave you a little more space than what we had this time last year to make some of those last minute decisions. We are coming up on budget season, and I hate to make dirty words in the middle of a nice meeting, but it is time to start doing the budget again. So it's probably a good thing if you're already thinking ahead of this year in this meeting and start talking about some of those plans for next year so that we can start assigning some dollar figures to them. You need to look at staffing to see where you want to be, so that when we sit down and try to figure out and project out what we're going to have in receipts, that you'll kind of know where you are, so you won't have to spend a whole lot of time on those areas. Because your collections are tracking pretty close, we projected $130,000 in receipts and a carryover fund balance of $27.5 for this budget. I think you're gonna exceed if you have a good spring. It's gonna depend on the weather. I'm hoping you're gonna exceed that 130, and that'd be really nice, because then that'll give you more cushion in your fund balance to do more things that you'd like to do. So overall, I'm very pleased. I wish the county budget's doing real well too, but we're running a little hotter than you guys, so, I wish I could say I had that much cushion left on the county budget.
Becky, is there a way we can get a breakdown of expenditures on the advertising and the promotional?
We sure can. Yeah, and
It seems like we've spent, what, $38,000? I don't see it.
Okay.
You know, all I see is this number here.
Right.
I really don't know where
Yeah,
it's
we
at.
can just run a ledger on it so you can see
Okay.
exactly who it was spent on. And then, of course, Tabitha will have to kind of guide us through what we got for those expenditures. But yeah, I'll be more than glad. I'll go ahead when I get back
Could you
and shoot
email
that
it
to
to me,
you.
and then I
Yeah.
can put the
Yeah, I don't know if
dates
it'll
with
show up
it?
on your phone. Will it show up on your phone? You have kind
No, but if you
Okay.
email it to me,
You
and
can
I'll
just
at the
attach it.
office, I can print it out and I can write notes and I
Right.
can put the different articles or.
right, to go with it.
Right, yeah.
So that way you guys have kind of a complete breakdown of how the money is, and where the money is going. Just a quick update on the occupancy tax, and I think probably Tabitha's going to mention this. There's going to be a webinar, I think on April the 2nd, that I think is very worthy of all the TDA boards, Fontana, Robbinsville, and Graham County to attend. Robbinsville and Graham County are splitting the cost of $125. We can have it here in the county, and I'm working on getting a venue, which will probably be either like the EMS space or Health Department or Transit, to where everybody can come in and watch it. It's gonna be about an hour and a half long. It's just gonna go over the different requirements for occupancy tax, how you get a new rate, all of those different things, the statutory stuff that we all kind of muddle through. And we're still working with the General Assembly, I'm guessing, on the extra 3%. Greg Cable, the county manager, spent most of the day on Monday with the Secretary of Commerce for North Carolina. She was very interested in everything that's going on in Graham County and seemed to want to send money our way or help consulting. She said even if it's not dollars and cents, we can send manpower out here to help with consulting on how to get things rolling. And she made the comment to him that if we can't get things worked out with the General Assembly on a true occupancy for the additional 3%, she was gonna send him some information on enacting a privilege tax, which is basically the same thing, but apparently you don't have to go through all the loopholes that you have to go through with the General Assembly. So there's some light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not the freight train anymore. So we're hoping that we can get these things pushed through and resolved, so that all the TDAs in Graham County can be in a better place financially.
And I want to introduce this while Becky's still here. I talked quite a bit to try to get in touch with the North Carolina Travel and Tourism Coalition. That group really represents people that have like 200 employees and over. So while I was at the governor's conference, they gave me to the NCTIA, and that gentleman gave me the occupancy tax laws, and we talked about that cookie cutter language and the reasons for it. And if you explain it, if I explain it in Mecklenburg terms, that they collect all of the occupancy tax, and then there is a contractual obligation between Mecklenburg and say Lake Norman or Pineville or each little area that has its TDA authority. They have a contractual obligations to pay them the amount that they were looking for. So what they did is they consolidated everything. And so the way that cookie cutter language is kind of written is to work with that format. I think that Robbinsville might be open to this because there is a lot of red tape back desk work that has to be done with a TDA. And I think right now they're kind of seeing all that work that there is. So they might be open to just let us collect the 6 and have that contractual obligation with them to just pay them their 3 for the people that are in their area. And then I need to reach out to Jessica Cooper, Fontana, to see if they might be open to getting rid of the red tape work and letting us do the red tape work, but them still getting their 3%. So this is another option of being able to go forward and to keep things real simple, so that that cookie cutter language does work for us. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay.
I have a question. Does that include that 8,000? What it does? Okay. What else have we got coming up in advertising and promotion? The Leesburg will be the last show.
Yeah, there's some, there's a few magazines and stuff that have digital. It's not just a printed piece, but you actually have feedback to know that that ad is working. So we kind of introduced that to AAA Go magazine for the Carolinas. It has 2 million magazines that go out, their readership. So there's a few things out there on the table that are really positioned for the assets that we have here. But whether it's Roadrunner magazine, we've never really done ads there for quite some time. The AAA, Our State, and I'll just go ahead and do this plug real quick. Beth knows about this. I always wondered how Bryson City did ads in Southern Living magazine. Well, now I know. They would bid on these at like the governor's conference. I called Beth at the last minute because I thought they had bid up to like $3,000. When I got over to the table, this $5,000 ad was only at $1,200. So I called Beth and I said, do you think it's okay if I go ahead and do this? And she said, yeah, that's a pretty good rate of return on our money, a smart way of spending our money. So the bid actually got up to $1,600, this $5,000 ad in Southern Living. So they forwarded us all the paperwork and stuff, and
is that one time or is that multiple times?
it's one time. That's $5,000 for one time. But I did want to pass that around so you guys
But
can see.
what's their, there's 3 million, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have gotten Southern Living for years, and I always.
that travel section in the back.
Yeah,
No,
love
it's
it.
okay.
Yeah.
What month?
You get to pick. So they sent me the packet, which now that I've introduced this to you guys, I will go ahead and forward that media packet that came with us winning. And we can pick the month we want to be. So if we want to really work with a nice graphic artist and do something great for fall, we could do that. Or if we wanted to hop on it and try and get in there early for summer, we could do that. So
If you're not
there's
spending your
room.
money 6 months in advance, it's a waste of time.
Yeah,
And
that's what I think.
Now, last year, didn't we budget for like 3 motorcycle shows?
We did, but we didn't know with the printing of this brochure, this was y'all's decision in February to just hold
I
off
know,
a
but it
little
seems like we
bit.
didn't follow, you know, somebody dropped the ball and didn't follow through with it.
Yeah, it was supposed to be 3 for
Like
sure.
last month, I thought that report we got from Carolina University was bogus. I went out and done my own survey this past month. And I went to every hotel around here and I've got their stats. Let me just read it off to you.
Can we just get back to the
Okay,
financial
all right.
part so Becky can go
Oh,
on down her
okay.
way?
I'm
And
sorry.
then we can discuss,
All right.
you know, ads and.
Okay, well, the reason I was getting at that, if Tabitha, heaven forbid you do this to us, if she finds another job tomorrow and quits, do we not owe her all that overtime that she's worked?
I've worked off, I'm down to like 120 hours.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So what my suggestion would be, when we get closer to the end of our year, and we still have money there and doing a budget amendment, put that, some of that salary and pay her some of that off.
Well, and I think it would be a good time, since we're talking about the financials, that we have a true budget workshop aside from our regular travel and tourism meeting. Because last year, I wasn't on the board then, but I attended the workshop. It was a regular meeting, but it's not enough time to go through this kind of budget. So we need to set something, I feel like, aside so that we don't have these issues of, oh, we were supposed to have these 3 shows. So each line item is approved at that time. And then you don't have to call and say, hey, you know, do you think this ad is a good idea? I mean, that's the purpose of having a workshop aside from our regular.
Totally agree.
And that will, you know, it may take you guys a couple of days
We need
to
to start
work
now.
through it.
Yeah, and
then-
that's the
June.
thing.
That's only
Yeah,
3
you need
months
to
away.
be, you know, you don't have to wait on me. You could be ironing these things out, and of course, I'll be giving you, you know, projections, as we get a little closer in. But you kind of have an idea anyway from the financials you have of what money's gonna be sitting there available. You just need me for guidance on your fund balance and that type of thing, but you actually, I mean, the county, we sit for weeks ironing ours out, so.
Well, remember,
2 to 3 to 4 days, you know, you don't need to stretch it all out, because everybody's busy, but 2 to 3 to 4 days that you can go ahead and schedule now to make these decisions is gonna make things so much better when you get to the end of the year.
Well, and I just remember last year, it was very hurried and it was very, it wasn't very strategic at all.
the year before that, just so everybody can really think back too, is the budget. There were 2 board members that quit because they would meet for budget. They met for 4 months. No budget was ever able to be done. If Dirk Cody wouldn't have gone in a room and penciled something out, there wouldn't have been a budget that year and they would not have been compliant. So just know that, I hope everybody, when we come in, we got to get it done. I didn't want that to happen, so last year I tried to do some things so it didn't go in that direction.
I
That was
think
my purpose.
The idea of going ahead and looking at your expenditures against what the product you got from those expenditures, and then the information you've gotten from just your informal poll, that's gonna be invaluable to you as you make those decisions. And, you know, keeping in mind budget, while it can be adversarial, you're gonna have differences of opinion, but those workshops are so key to you being able to work through those differences and negotiate out something that's gonna work for the county.
Let's schedule us a workshop today. How long would it take you, Tab, to get your stuff together, to tell us where all the money in advertising has gone, things like that?
Well, that's what Becky's gonna email me,
Becky's
the
gonna look at
ledger.
that.
I'll go ahead and do that.
Oh, you could do that, okay.
This afternoon. I'll get it to
Great.
her this afternoon as soon as I get back to the office, and then that way, you can.
And then after she gets the ledger, it becomes like last year, if y'all remember that sheet that I had, it was my wish list. And the wish list at the very
When do
end,
you
we
two
had to
start
like
doing
cut
this?
$70,000 of wishes. So
Yeah.
I've got plenty of things.
I'll
Budget's
make
a
time,
matter of
you know,
Yeah.
allocating scarce resources with a lot of hope.
Yeah.
Is there a day of the week that's better for people over other days of the week?
Looking ahead, a Monday or a Tuesday for me would probably Tuesdays.
April 1st too early?
Works for me.
It's probably right on track.
All right, so that is Tuesday, April the 1st, and what time would everybody want to meet?
About 9
Same.
a.m.
9?
And let's get
Plan the
started.
day.
Would you guys like for me to just try and get this, or would you like to meet up at the EMS base at those tables so we can sit closer to one another, or just around one table?
You may have a problem
Did you
with
get it?
safety. And that was the issue over there in this space.
Okay. Yeah, let's just keep it here, and I can check with Kim and, which one is it in the tax office?
One.
Yeah.
If we can't meet here, maybe we can meet extension.
Okay.
We'll just set that one, and then if y'all are in agreement that day, if we need more time, then we can set another date.
Y'all might want to have one while I'm gone out of town, which is that next week. That way you can really talk up what you want.
Well, we talked about it earlier.
That's good. All right, so
No,
that's
I definitely think you need to be here.
Yeah, I think so too.
Not at the Patty's.
I was just kidding.
all right, so that's good there, and I'll call about that.
Does anybody else have anything for Becky?
So Becky, you're saying that amount that's left to spend, of course, it includes salaries and things of that nature.
So probably what,
So that line item of the 32 is the earmarked amount?
that's the amount that we have probably about that much left.
Okay. And then from the local government standpoint, if there was a piece of land that we were interested in, how do we go forward in purchasing that land? Could some of this leftover monies go towards the down payment and the starting of paying a bill towards somebody?
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna finance, you're gonna have to get LGC approval before you proceed. So, you can't go out, you can get a contract, you need to get a contract so you can go ahead and start the ball rolling, but if you get the contract, you can't close until they have taken it to their board,
So it's a
approved
3
it.
or 4 month process? Okay. So not
And
this
then-
budget cycle?
Yeah.
Could we carry forward some monies to the next budget
Mhm.
cycle if we chose to do something like that?
And that's part of what your capital reserve is for, is
Okay.
it's that carryover money. I mean, it's money you have reserved and set aside toward capital expansion for the TDA, and, that can be used toward that. And that, I think that was the intent when the board decided to start putting that percentage away, is that'll be money laying there for that center.
And is there a certain amount with the local government authority that we have to have as a percentage?
They want a minimum of 8% of your expenditures in reserves, undesignated reserves. So they would want 8% above what's in capital reserve. That's the minimum. Which is basically 1 month of expenditures. They like it to be around 15 to 20, but they'll take 8 without writing.
So as long as that amount's floating there, we would be good with them. Okay, so.
I mean, you're in good standing with the LGC. It would just be a matter of making the application and having them take it to their board. And of course, they're gonna look at your ability to repay the debt. So, obviously, if you wanted to purchase something that's way out there that's gonna create a huge debt payment, they're gonna say no. You just gotta, it's just like buying a house. I mean, they're gonna look at what you can afford and what your revenue projections are going forward. So it would be kind of nice to have that extra 3% laying there to boost that up there.
Now, but you did tell me, or somebody told me, that extra 3% can't go towards the travel and tourism center.
It depends on what the legislation finally winds up being.
But a privilege
Yeah.
tax would allow us to do whatever the heck we want to do with it.
So that might be your better track.
Is the privilege tax, Becky, the same one that they're leveraging on admissions for nonprofits?
I'm guessing
think-
so. I'm thinking that's what, I
I think
wasn't,
that's
I
what-
wasn't in that conversation, but I'm guessing that that's what she's thinking is kind of the same type of revenue that gives you a little more flexibility. And that'd probably be good, maybe when, what you guys might want to do is take a little time in your workshop to have Greg come and just have him talk to you about these issues, so, yeah.
Awkward.
Because this is very much third hand you're getting from me.
Well, I did just had, out of necessity,
Yeah.
did some reading.
Uh-huh, yeah,
And I think it is the
I
same.
think it is.
So when we have this workshop, can we just go on the assumption until we get closer that we can budget on that 130,000?
Yeah.
And if we have a fund balance like we did last
Then
year,
you pull
then
it
that's
forward
just,
again.
yeah.
Yeah, it's better to be
It's better,
conservative on
yeah.
revenues. Yeah. And aggressive on expenditures.
And then, is there a rule, I know for nonprofits there is about, and I've talked to Tabitha a little bit about this, that it would be nice if we can make revenue aside from the bed tax, so that we can put it towards a visitor center or whatever it is. Is there a percentage limit of our budget that we can spend on, I don't know if it would be a special event or a motorcycle rally or what it would be, but is there, any limitation on that?
No, I mean, I think as long as you line item out what you're gonna do and then stay within that, the LGC is not gonna fuss at you.
Okay.
They just don't want you, over, with any entity. You're familiar with nonprofits. You just don't wanna extend yourself to where you can't, and from the county's perspective, they don't want you overextending because they don't want to pick up the tab.
My
Before you
nephew,
have the hawk.
my nephew and his father had the lease on the Skyway Convenience, and they surrendered that lease, and they had a bunch of Tell the Dragon and Sure Had a Skyway shirts. I've taken down there, I've not brought a bookcase yet.
We're not set up yet because Taylor's gotta come make us wireless, so an iPad would work with the swiper that we've already got.
Oh, okay.
So
what-
until he gets down there to give me wireless, we're waiting.
Okay.
And then she's gotta give me our tax number so I can put it in the system and our account number, so when we swipe, it goes right into that account. So we're almost there, but.
Yeah, well, what Tyler agreed to do is instead of us having to go ahead and pay for the shirts, is just pay for them as we sell them. So we thought it'd be a good gauge to see how they'll move down there, and that might be another revenue for making some money. Another outlet.
Yeah, all the other TDAs sell maps and T-shirts and postcards and, yeah.
Well, I mean, we do need some revenue that is
it's not-
expendable, like, if Tabitha does go to a show or something and there's something worthwhile, that she doesn't have to call
Right.
each of us to say, hey, this is what.
And that's one thing you as a board can do. You probably want to give me and her jointly. Like with the county, I have the ability to spend $1,000 without having to hold the
Approve.
board.
I can do 500.
And I think yours is.
Mine was 1,000, that's why I
Yeah.
had to.
So, what you guys might want to do is if you know you're sending her to something like where you were, and there may be that possibility, is just go ahead and document that in your minutes that before she goes, that you're giving her that authority.
If it's Gather Around the Blue Ridge, I think had one too.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, and I mean, that's typically,
Yeah.
I mean, you have
Yeah.
some flexibility
Yeah.
there. But I mean, tax money is different than money that we raise ourselves.
Right.
And if we're spending the money that we raise ourselves through a special event or T-shirts or whatever it is, that,
That's a
that would be a little bit different.
well, from the,
I mean, as a board member, I would feel
Yeah,
more comfortable
right.
giving authority to spend
for those,
money.
from the statutory side, whether it's fundraising or tax dollars, she still has to
Yeah,
pass
the-
through me. Yeah, just to do the
So we would
pre-audit.
just need to give you
Yeah.
both.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you
Anything
so much.
else? Okay. I'll go ahead and shoot that to you here in just a second.
Okay, that's
Bring it
great,
back.
thank you.
All right, thank you, folks.
Thank you.
You guys have a good day.
So public comment, do we have guests at board? Okay, then we'll move
Azalea group's coming back in the 5th and 6th of April. And Jim and I have talked, Jim's the guy that coordinates everything. And rather than try to get everybody together really early Saturday morning before they head out, we're just gonna get waters or whatever that the travel tourism wants to buy. And I've got a table and a tent, I'll be up there helping them anyway. We're just gonna set that up and I'll put a sign up thanking them from travel and tourism. That way, if y'all wanna come up and help, you can. We'd love all the help we can get. They're gonna set out 200 azaleas.
Wow.
But we'll just set up a tent up there with a table. And
Will
that
you
way-
take some pictures too? So
Sure.
we can press release that?
Where's that?
They're gonna set them out, I think most of them will go on Hooper. The 5th, they'll cut grass in the planting areas and place the azaleas and plant them then. Can't really say, and then on the 6th, they'll plant, cut, and prune on Hooper.
Cooper Ball?
Yeah, it'll either be Hooper Ball or Huckleberry Ridge, one or the other that they'll put.
That's awesome.
Okay, we will be planting 200 10-inch azaleas in quart pots on Huckleberry Ridge and 25 on Hooper. There's just a little more room over on Huckleberry than there is on Hooper Ball.
How much on Huckle?
200 there and 25 on Hooper. So rather than everybody try to be at the microtel, because there'll be some of them that actually, they've got permission to camp on Huckleberry from the Forest Service. So there'll be some of them that are up there. So rather than try to get up real early and try to do some kind of breakfast, we'll just set up a table with some fruits and granolas and waters and then just have it there all day on Saturday.
That's at 9 o'clock?
Oh, no, they're gonna start,
When do you need help?
he just said if we had the table set up sometime mid-morning would be fine, because they'll eat breakfast before they get up there. Because he's telling them to bring their own snacks and foods for lunch, because there's no close restaurants.
Oh, it'd be a good weather day.
Is it,
And can somebody help Ravonda? I will be out of town at spring break. Does anybody
Well,
have?
I didn't know that.
Pretty good for that. Where?
Ravonda, I'd help, but I'm out of town.
My line
that's
weatherman.
fine. Like I said,
Are you watching 13?
No.
I have a table, and we have one of those easy up tents, so we'll just set it up and I can make us, so I'm gonna notify the Boy Scouts and a few of the guys that helped us last time and the
Yeah,
native
earn
plant.
patches and things for them. They can earn patches.
Yeah, they did last time, they camped up there, and the Native Plant Association, have them come up and or see if they wanna help, so it's fine. It's not gonna, I'll set the table up with the stuff out and that'll be it.
Okay. Yes, so you guys have the Skyway brochure kind of folded up, kind of mocked up what it would look like for the visitor. And you also have and both of these reworked, not only with pictures, but I must say a nice thank you to Lisa Russo for being my proofer, grammar proofer reader, and we found quite a few errors. Thank you very much, Lisa, for doing that for me. I tried to get the English department, with it being midterms and red tape of everything they've got to get back to the government. They weren't able to help me this time, so I really appreciate Lisa stepping in for us and taking care of the grammar issues. So I'm hoping that today that you guys can give a quick glance over the pictures and with the changes that we made, and give us approval to go to print. I would love to have this new brochure to go out for the Leesburg Motorcycle Show.
What's the cost of that show, the car?
I've not been, but my car's too small to get all the stuff down there. So last year, we used to rent a car each time we had a show. And for that 1 month, we rented a car for the month, and it was cheaper. So that's about $400 to $500-ish. You know, your room for 3 days.
But do you have
4
a
days.
reservation there, or do you have a booth?
I've got all the paperwork that's ready to go in. Steve's making all those reservations for me since we're back from governor's conference. And I had to get the insurance certificate, about those. I had to get that sent down there as well with Claudine. So all of it's in transition right now. We're going to be in the downtown section, not out at the motorcycle dealership. There's 2 dealerships now because of how many people are going to be in it.
Right.
I'm just looking back at the notes from the October meeting when we talked about the shows that were coming up. And the only cost that we had was the IMS show at $4,000. We didn't have a cost for the Leesburg or the Atlanta Boat Show. Which other than that,
The Atlanta Boat Show, yeah.
What's the booth cost? You remember that?
It's not very expensive. I want to say off the top of my head, it's like 6 or 8 in there. It's not like $1,000 booth at all. Most of those shows kind of average,
3,000.
about 3,000 is what I always kind of earmark in my head when I'm talking about the shows.
Do we really get that many boats from out of town that come here and stay?
We
If
do.
you talk to Randall and if you talk to the people at Fontana and then the people that are bringing their own boats over to Chiola, I don't know if you know this, but Muskie are in Chiola Lake. That's very rare for our area, and it really does drive a lot of fishermen here. And then with the coldness of Calderwood being 42 degrees, your friend at the boat shop will tell you how that cold water is really wanted by a lot of fishermen. So there's not really any structures on those lakes, but people bring their boats and they do come in here
Well,
and they stay.
if you think that Dave is benefiting from out-of-town boats, if you ask him, he'll say no.
No,
Well, I'll say that Fontana does. And again, I think we need to make a mixture of different items because our property, everything, that families, boating, car groups, motorcycles, it all is important.
I understand.
And families and motorcycles and car groups attend these type shows.
it's a crossover group because
So,
they have
and
multiple
hikers,
interests.
I mean, right now, we're getting revenue in our resort because we have AT hikers. The resort, we've got 30-some rooms tonight of hikers.
Yeah, I was down there the other day for breakfast, and there was probably 20 hikers in there.
And they don't smell good, but they bring us money, so.
The money's all right.
Because I walked through the lodge this morning and I walked down to the end and it smelled like underarm. So I guess, I feel that if we, as a group, I just think we need to do more than one market and that there's other people on every market that you go to.
But the most of the bread and butter in this county is motorcycles.
It is for your property, it's not for ours.
Okay, well, let me just read this off to you. This is something I've done on my own this past month because I didn't believe a word of that the money we spent at Carolina University. That report was bogus.
Oh, I doubt any of those would have boating, overnight boating.
Well, there are hotels here and stuff at,
Well, let's hear your stuff, Barry.
Okay.
You talk about it.
all right, Blue Waters. 35% of their business is motorcycles, 65 is cars. Buffalo Creek Bed and Breakfast, 60% is motorcycles, 40% cars.
But is that the only 2 things you asked? Did you ask about families or kids?
Yes, I
Okay.
did.
So those 2 places said they didn't have anything else? Blue Water didn't have anything else?
they don't allow kids there, so it's, what's a family? A couple?
Okay,
Or do they have to have kids to be a family?
okay.
Blue Waters doesn't allow kids under 13. And she says we never get any kids. I mean, I personally went around to all these people that I'm reading off to you. Dragon's Rest are 90% motorcycles. Fontana Village, you already said, you're 7% motorcycles.
I don't think it was 7%, it was.
Well, that's what you said, 7%. That's what you said at the last meeting, we're 7% motorcycles. Iron Horse, 100%. Microtel, they're 70% motorcycles. Phillips, they're 70%. San Ran, they're 60%. I'm 100%. Simple Life Campgrounds and Cabins, they're 90% motorcycles. Chair Hollow Vacation Rentals, 80%. Another thing I looked at is unique hits. Travel and Tourism website only gets 1,500 average unique hits a month. The Tail of the Dragon gets 2,700 a day,
Yeah.
which is over 1.3 million a year in unique hits on a website.
They're a very successful business. They're gonna be a lot higher than what we are, that's for sure.
Uh,
But it shows you the percentage of interest that's come to this county.
It's motorcycles.
It's not certainly
I think,
anything else.
I mean,
Pretty evident.
if you was just take these percentages and apply it to the revenues brought in by those hotels, take 70, let's say Microtel's $10,000. You took 70% of whatever they're bringing in and applied it towards the motorcycle advertising, then that's justifying the monies on where it's going.
Well, I don't think it's a justification if you don't consider that travel and tourism is more than lodging. Travel and tourism is activities for people to do when they're here. We don't have any lodging at Stokoe Valley Center, but we generate an economic impact in this county through the activities that we offer there.
Usually Travel and Tourism Board's made up of hospitality owners.
No.
Well, it's still hospitality.
I've
It's still
looked at it.
hospitality. Entertainment is hospitality.
Okay.
So I think that, boating is an activity.
Right.
If someone comes here on a motorcycle, it is our job to have them come back, bring their family, go on a boat, go, whatever it is, that we have to offer other than that. So I don't think that, while I'm not in any disagreement at all that we need to promote motor tourism in this county, because it's evident that it is bread and butter for our county. But there are other things that we can offer those tourists in addition to taking care of the other people that come here for different reasons.
And we are, that's why
Yeah.
the percentages are not in proportion to the amount of money and effort being spent in order to get those people coming here.
And that's what I think we need to identify in the budget process. Because we have not, I remember, I wasn't on this board, but I remember attending those meetings, and there was no percentages discussed about, okay, we want to make an investment of 50% in motor tourism, 25 in outdoor activity, 25 in all
That's
of it.
because nobody knew where we were.
Right. Well, and we do have data, and Mary, I would disagree, or maybe you could tell me why you think the East Carolina data is bogus. The data says people are traveling here with no kids.
There's only 105 people that responded to that. How can you take something and make a justifiable decision on 105 people?
The same
that
way you can
responded to
justify
that?
your
You know how
poll.
research
But these are actual facts from business owners.
Well, these are
Beds and
actual
heads.
visitors.
This is money.
This
That's
is money
theory.
here, that's all guessing over there.
But no, it's not guessing, because
Those people
these,
answered those surveys.
well, and they came from the Iron Horse. The email addresses came from the Iron Horse. They came from the Visitor Center. They came from Fontana. They came from a good group. They came from the Forest Service. They came from a good grouping. And we had 23% of our respondents, complete the survey.
And that's the highest out of the 6 groups that went
That-
through. Grant
that have
County
gone
was
through.
the highest.
Out of the
Of
6
the
counties that
invitations
have
sent out.
participated. So I don't think it's bogus. One thing that stood out to me is our cell service, bless you. It's unacceptable. I mean, if we want to work on something, you know, to make it a better experience for our guests, that is not bogus. I mean, we know just from living here that our cell service is not good. So I don't think that it's just, you know, to just broadly sweep it away as bogus is a fair statement. Where if you do a poll, I mean, anyone can do a survey, but that this, the way that this was done, is a random selection of folks from different backgrounds. And like I said, you know, the fact that most of the people that are traveling here aren't traveling with kids. I mean, that's motor tourism, I can tell you that. You know, kind of like what you were talking
Let's
about.
put things in perspective. Frontier or Verizon, either one, are not going to spend money developing an area that doesn't have the revenue to support their infrastructure, period.
I was talking to him yesterday.
Same
about that.
thing with, you know, with the percentages of money that's being allocated to, you know, the travel tourism, to get people here. It's how much effort are you gonna have to generate in order to get people here? If your goal is to have revenue turning in this county. And, you know, if we're chasing boats, or we're chasing hikers, I don't see them spending a lot of money. You know, we need to focus on the reality of who comes and why they come. And the why they come is for the roads and, you know, to enjoy the infrastructure that we have, which is very little actually, you know, for motorcycles.
Well, I mean, I think it's what the report says too. It's scenic and natural beauty, whether you're on a motorcycle, in a car, or whatever you're in. I mean, because the infrastructure is that. I mean, that's one of the main things that we have to offer, and that applies to all sorts of tourists.
Everybody that I talked to here also had negative things to say about the travel and tourism. They said they haven't helped us a bit. Every one of them.
I don't disagree with that.
100%.
I don't
They said
disagree with
travel and
that at all.
tourism hasn't helped me a bit. We go out and do our own thing to create our own revenue.
But in travel and tourism's defense, it has not worked very well the last several years.
I understand.
I mean, it hasn't.
I
We've had
understand. Well,
turnover.
we're here to
in-
get it on the right
Yeah,
track.
and we
Okay,
are.
so did you
But I-
ask them what we could do? What can we do to make our accommodation partners happy? What else can we do?
Actually, we've been making a lot of those phone calls ourselves. So some of the things we've been doing to go forward this year, the staff at down there has been asking everybody if their brochure is current. We have found that a lot of the materials that we have down there were not current. So people are bringing by their new brochures, they're dropping them off, getting everything current. We've actually heard a lot of good positive response as far as our Facebook page and what's going on there. Not to get ahead of myself, but we have grown in the past 6 months from 400 likes to 875, so that's double in less than 6 months. There's Pinterest pages out there. The whole thing with travel and tourism for me and trying to get started back on a good foot was to be sure that the foundation was there. And that started with the website itself. We needed a new website. And we've gone forward with social media campaigns. But I just hope the board, I hope you guys know that as long as we stay united and we tell everybody that we're representing the county, not our own interests, and that keeps us in a positive frame and asking people, what is it that you'd like to do? There are some people so checked out, it's going to take 2 or 3 years to get them back to saying that travel and tourism has done something positive for them. It's going to take a lot more magazine articles, it's going to take a lot more video, it's going to take a lot more TV. And the numbers don't lie. So we had a 4% increase this past year. As long as we can continue showing in numbers that our numbers are going ahead, that's going to help. We're going to get hit with things every so often. Slides and weather and rainy weekends will continue to happen, but we need to stay in a united front and representing all the accommodation partners. We've got to keep that in mind as we go into this budget, that everybody is important when it comes to this county, not one sector over the other. So if we can just please try and keep that in mind.
I don't think we're talking about sectors, we're talking about individuals visiting Graham County.
Right,
and
but
spending
I
money.
have because I've waited some tables here and I'm in the visitor center, when you ask motorcycles, where are you staying? What have you done since you've been here? Have you done this, blah, blah, blah? the motorcyclists get on their bikes and they ride away from Robbinsville and they spend their money elsewhere and they come back. Some of the other types of tourists that we have here will stay in the area and they'll go hiking, picnicking, they might rent a boat, different things, and it kind of, the leakage doesn't go out as much. So on the motorcycle, we get a lot of people that'll
I'm
leave.
not buying that.
I'm not buying it.
Okay.
Because, you know, our revenues are, you know, I got
Well, that's their business.
an average
Yeah,
of,
and I
you know,
understand where they're
$80 a
coming from.
night
Just-
per person, or
Right.
per couple, you know, plus other things that they buy. They'll usually fill up gas in the area before they leave. Now, they might go have lunch somewhere, but they'll usually come back and have dinner with us, on average. So we estimate that, you know, per person is gonna be somewhere between $100 and $120 a day spent here in Grant County. If our numbers are correct, you know, and I'd have to do an exact accounting, but there's probably 3,000 to 5,000 people that come to Iron Horse in a season. So, you know, that's a pretty good chunk of money that comes
Well,
to.
I'm not trying to discount
you know,
you at
Grant
all. I'm
County.
trying to take up, because my job is accountable to everybody. So I'm trying to take up for the people that might not be here at the table, that might want to say some of the things that they're asking me to say.
Well, I'll say this, you know, I want to word this correctly. Directly, Iron Horse doesn't really benefit from Graham County. We hardly ever get, unless, you know, referring them, but I hardly ever get people coming in saying that they went to our website, or to the Graham County website and came to us.
No, but in the
They're going
past,
to
they might have
Taylor
gone to a
Dragon.
show.
Pardon?
But in the past, they could have gone to the shows. We
They
did
could have
shows
gone to
for
the shows,
lots
exactly.
and lots of years, so travel and tourism did do that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So you have to
But-
remember, getting your name out there does help, even though people might not remember the exact first time they came in contact with Grant County.
Correct.
Well, I think part of the issue is back to that, you know, trying to get travel and tourism in a strategic trajectory towards something. I mean, the whole idea about collecting data, and Barry, we need your data too. We need Teresa Garland from the festival. We need this report. We need all the data that we can get, so that we can have some type of comprehensive tourism plan for this county. Because if we don't, we have no way to guide what we do.
Well, we're trying to give it to you. I mean, we've actually been to these shows, you know, we see the amount of activity in the area, and that's the litmus paper right there. When you see motorcycles rolling up and down the road, or cars like, you know, 500, 600 minis running around, or Miatas or whatever, that's physical evidence that something's working. I just don't see, when I go out on the lake on Fontana,
Not that many.
I'm the only one there. You know, I go on
That's the reason we go out
Our
there.
big revenue maker at Fontana.
What's
is
that,
the
boats?
Marina.
is it really?
It is,
You don't
and
see
I wouldn't
boats
care to
lined up
share
in
that
these parking lots
information,
around here,
because you
kayakers.
two seem not
You
to
don't see
believe
none of that.
what I have to say
You don't.
about one. I mean, I can't say that doing motorcycles shows for the last 6, 7 years has benefited our property at all. I mean, we don't get it from you, or from it, so what we've been doing is not working, and that's what we've been doing.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is that if we start with this budget process, we need to have some other workshops around what is our plan? What do we want to grow? Do we want to have a motorcycle show? Do we want to have a car show? Do we want to have some things that would bring more of what we already know is, I don't think anybody that is here believes that motorcycles and car clubs and motor tourism do not have a place in this county.
Exactly.
I don't think that if there is, they shouldn't be on this board.
I think
But
cars are your number one.
But I think
I mean,
that
they're number one if there was a
if we
market.
don't use the data that we have, and if we sit around and say, well, this report is bogus and this is misinformation or what have you, without really analyzing all of the things that it says, I mean, one of the things we do know too is people are repeat visitors. They've been coming here for years and years and years. What we have not done as travel and tourism, because we've had so much inconsistency in the board and our director, we have not been on a consistent playing field for several years. So if we're in agreement and united, like Tabitha said, then let's move it forward. You know, let's not sit here every time we meet and argue about what data is right and what's not right, where we should put our money. We started talking about this brochure and we get off on these other things. So let's spend the time. Let's start with the budget meeting on the 1st. Let's go through the dollars and cents of it. Let's use your data berry. Let's look at what your phone calls or, you know, what the folks in the lodging are saying, what they want. You know, the travel and tourism hasn't done anything for me, so what can we do? So let's try to, you know, get all of this together and then let's get ourselves on a path. Because otherwise, we just sit here, we waste your time, I don't want to waste any more of my time, and we end up in the same place.
I just
And that's
think-
all that ever seems to happen.
I just
And
think the data I got is coming straight from a business owner and not by Western Carolina University student putting this all together.
But these are
They
the,
put it together from surveys
from people that were here.
But that's only 100 people. We got thousands
Well, so
of
we
people
can
that
get, we
come
have
here.
an
But that's how
opportunity to get
research works,
more.
Barry. That's how
I mean,
statistics and
I mean,
data work. It's a large group, this many people say that they're gonna do it, that many people of that group actually fill out the survey.
Understand, but
So
I'm
you gotta
getting
get it from
actual
somewhere.
numbers from the people that are here.
What if we bring in everybody that wants to attend, who cares to attend, who cares how the money's spent into a budget
Let's have a
meeting?
forum or something.
I mean, why don't we
That's
do
fine.
that? And why don't we sit in little, you know, like we had
Work
the
groups.
thing that we had here, and go in corners and talk about this, that, and another. I don't think it's one-sided, I think it's a mixture of everything. Because motorcycles are not gonna be our piece of bread forever, we need to look elsewhere too. But motorcycles are important, and car groups, my thought is number one, but I know that's not gonna make everybody on this list happy or put heads in their beds. So maybe we bring them all in.
I mean, if we don't, as a travel and tourism board, care about what these people think, again, we should be here. I mean, because we can't spend this money and have a tourism plan or invest in a motorcycle show or anything else without your business and your business and the rest of
We
these
had a budget
folks.
last year and it didn't even happen for our motorcycle shows.
Well, that we need to address why.
Right.
That we need to address, because I just
Are you
look
booked up
back.
for this season?
No,
They're just starting to get phone calls.
just kidding.
What about you? What does your season look like?
It looks good, you know, well, it's gonna be weather contingent, but again, we work pretty diligently about, you know, fostering the people that have been there and then getting new people, going to new shows, new markets, you know, go to Nashville or go to Indianapolis or wherever, without any support from Grant County. We're doing this on our own because I see that the efforts of travel and tourism are failing. That's why I'm taking it upon myself to continue to market our business without the benefit of travel tourism. And the reason I'm here is not because of Iron Horse. I'm here as a part of Graham County, trying to formulate a game plan so that, you know, it brings more people to all of Graham County, not just, but I want to bring the people who want to come, not the ones that I got to go out there and drag them here, you know?
And John, can I ask you, with numbers being higher, how is travel and tourism failing?
Well, maybe it isn't failing. I guess if you look at 3%, that's great. There's a lot more out there than what we're getting.
If we would have had a better spring, we would have probably had an 8 or 10%.
But you've also got to plant seeds in the spring to get them to come in the fall. And if you're not marketing, you know, to when people are at these shows, you're late. You're just late. And if we want to go to, and market to a broader base of people, then maybe we need to go to more boat shows but, you know, we should not forget the people
But
who
why
are
is it
actually
always,
supporting
why
us.
is Graham County's hand, instead of publications that have returned approved, people saw it?
You know,
Well, at the governor's conference, they said 45% of your marketing dollars should be digital media advertising, 45%.
okay.
5% shows.
5%.
I mean, I've got the slides work, and then those are the two that really caught my mind because we do shows. And I don't think we get that much benefit at Fontana Village out of a show as we do being on this, because it's proved.
I would tend to agree that there's a significant internet presence for all
So,
businesses.
I feel like when we sit down to meet, we try to get it here, because this is where everybody's starting to make the reservations. This is where they find all their vacation information. If any of you vacate, that's
Well,
where
and that
they
was
find
why I
it.
brought up the point about why, cellular service, and I get about Verizon and Frontier not making the investment because we don't have the people. But we have gotten grant money in this county to have the Tuskegee box so that they can get some wireless out there, the one at Stokoe, so that, folks within a 3-mile radius of there. There are other grant opportunities.
We had
There's-
people leave because there
Yeah,
wasn't
because there's not
internet.
internet.
You just get up and go.
Yeah, and so with that being the wave, and I'm not saying that the travel and tourism, we should spend our money on that. I'm just
Right.
saying we should promote and support any initiative. The broadband meetings that happen every month, was one today at Stokoe. They're there every month, and it's with the North Carolina Department of Commerce, and, trying to get better access to cellular service and wireless in the county. So I think we can do some things as board members to support those initiatives, or maybe write a letter of support for a grant that would help us get more funds in the county. But that is the wave of what's happening. I mean, whether we like it or not, I don't particularly like it. I like completely like it.
And I like it. I'm gonna take
You
it.
like it or not, you
Right,
use it.
I know, I do use it. So can we just agree to disagree for now until we get to our budget meeting? And I do think that the other thing that is helpful, at least when we have our board meetings, is that we send out an agenda ahead of time, and that we give the board members an opportunity to say, hey, I want to talk about this. So that if we're not sidewinded. I mean, again, we need to get through these brochures. You said it's been 3 or 4 months that you've been working on one of these, 4 months. We need to get through these. That was, this is on the agenda for this meeting.
Sure.
If we want, for April 1st, if we want to have a budget workshop and, I want to air this out, get this out there, and let's talk about whether we put what percentage where. But can we maybe do that for future meetings so that we don't get sidewinded on some conversations that maybe we need to have in a workshop? Is that okay with
How
y'all?
soon, because some people said, well, you sent that out too soon and it got lost in my email. What is an appropriate time for sending the agenda out?
Well, I'd say as soon as you have it ready. It's our responsibility as a board member to read our email and to have input. It's your responsibility to send us, the bare bones, and then we need to send you the items that we want to discuss.
Anybody else have any comment on, would you like it a week ahead of time, 3 days before, 2 days before? 2 days? 2 days?
That's fine.
2 days.
Then maybe if you want to have something on the agenda, just send it like the Friday before the week, before, anytime. in
Yeah, if you have an
between.
agenda item. I mean, I do think we need to have some kind of, just administrative duties that, we don't get off track and get past what we're here to accomplish for that particular meeting.
And
But
at
I
the
do
beginning
think
of
that-
each meeting, you, Connie, will ask, do anything need to be added? So don't feel like you can't be
Right.
added to the agenda as well. Because I know myself, I'll forget about something sometimes and it needs to be added because it has to be talked
Well,
about.
I think this thing that they're talking about, promoting more motorcycles, is definitely a workshop thing.
I think so too. I think the whole the money that we have set aside for, and it's the point you brought up, what did we spend that $38,000 on? I'd like to know that too. So I think that that's definitely for planning for next year, and then you can let us know, okay, we got no response on this ad, or no response on that ad.
It just
you know.
seems like, if I remember right, what it was budgeted for didn't happen. So that money.
And it may not have. It
That
may
money's
not.
went someplace else.
Or it hasn't
So
been
what,
spent yet.
what good's the budget meeting if we can't adhere to it some way,
Well, the budget meeting, the good of the budget meeting is you have to have something to go by. And
Right.
then if it's not spent correctly, then we'll hold that, either ourselves, because sometimes it's our own fault, because we can't decide what we want to do. Or we'll hold Tabitha accountable for that. I mean, you know, that's the purpose of having a budget and trying to follow it. And having those line items in discussion, in workshop, where last year it was very hurried, and it was just, okay, we want to put this amount in promotions. And we never, I mean, there was a few ads, and there were some other things that we had done in the past, but I just remember it being very hurried. And
Now, is this April 1st meeting basically our first meeting for the budget?
Yes,
For the budget?
yes.
Okay.
And do you guys want to meet as a group, or do you want to have that forum before or after that?
we need
I'd
that
rather
form.
I
We
think
need
we
that
to
form
do it.
before.
Do it as a
What
group.
Becky's gonna send you? Is that what you're talking about?
No, somebody mentioned having a forum inviting everybody on the occupancy tax list to come in and.
Oh, no,
do
I
that.
think we need to meet first, and I think that would be, I mean, in my mind, and y'all, I seem to have a big mouth today, but in my mind, we need to do some relationship building with these folks. And so to me, it's a meet and greet first, and then we talk about what do you want. I mean, they don't even know us. They don't even know us.
They
And
could
we don't know
attend-
them either. That's-
Could they not attend these meetings if they had interest?
Oh, yeah, sure.
There you go.
And then when someone's up, but the only
But now,
time
in
though,
their defense, and you guys should know this, as small business owners,
Yeah.
they're busy. That's why
But
I
if
say
it's
send me
something
that email 2
especially
days
for
before, my
them.
email box stays full.
yeah, and if it's something especially for them, you know, and it's this time of year, you know, April, maybe we could do it on, you know, an evening for a couple of hours. Just, you know, an informal, have some food, have, you know, just, we want to hear from you and come meet us, we want to meet you. Because there's a lot of new members, but we need some good PR in this county for this travel and tourism board.
And trust me, there's plenty of negative people out there. They're gonna neg you out, and you've gotta turn them around. You've gotta stay positive. You cannot let them rain on your parade. We have an agenda. We are going forward, and we've made some strides. I don't care what anybody says, if they're gonna be negative. And bring a solution if you've got a problem.
We'll never be negative. I told them, look, you're taking the time to collect the money for travel and tourism. You got a say in it. Come to the meeting, you know? Well, obviously, they didn't show up. Everybody that I talked to, I told them, come to the meeting.
Lorna
They
did
told
the
them
same
what it
thing.
was.
Lorna did the same thing, so.
But a lot of people aren't gonna come out to a public meeting and complain. They just don't feel
They don't have to
comfortable with
complain.
it.
They just sit here and listen.
And talk to us after the fact like they did the Board of Commissioners.
Well, if we can agree on that, that we start working on how we can have a strategy. I mean, John, what you said about what the Iron Horse has done, you had a strategy. Okay, we want to put our money here and invest here, and, you know we get this return. That's what we need to do as a board for all tourism.
Yeah, it's like 99%, you know, perspiration,
Yeah.
1% inspiration
Right.
is what's gonna build a business.
Well, and I really think we have not had the consistency of trying, everybody working together to try to get to what our goal is. And our goal is to increase travel and tourism in this county. And, I mean, we all share in that. We all benefit from it. And surely we can work together to get to that. But I think there needs to be some strategies and objectives and things that we want to accomplish, starting with, I mean, it can't all be about, we need to spend this amount of money for this show or this ad. There has to be more thought in the future about how we build the motor tourism. Is the future in car clubs, you know? I mean, what all of the things are.
Well, like John said last month in his email on this brochure, I mean, there's plenty of mountain views. You know, we get a ton of pictures of mountain views, people hugging the trees at Joyce Kilmer. You know, let's get more cars and more motorcycles in those pictures. You know, because I think in that brochure, there was only one small picture. And I think that upset John. It upset me. You
Well,
know,
but
it's-
again, it goes back to the frustration comes out when we should just be, hey, you know, here's a few pictures, I think you should add one of these, instead of it being a disrespectful thing to the fellow board members.
I don't think it was disrespectful. We just made a statement.
It hurt my feelings.
But no, what I'm saying is, when you say, hey, you people, that motor tourism or motorcycles are the bread and butter of this county, or the money for the county, that's, we all know, and we're here to promote that as well. But sometimes it's not what you say, it's just the way you say it. And if you say, here is a couple of suggestions for some photos, I think there's too many overlooks or trees or whatever. Again, we kind of, we get our frustration because of the way this board is operated, and we need some consistency in a positive direction with some goals, with some ways to get there.
I'm going to share my frustration,
But it's out of
which is
frustration.
also a composite of a lot of people's frustration, is that, you know, there seems to be an animosity about motorcycles in this area, really. Over the years, in the last 10 years, I haven't seen that warm and fuzzy feeling, like reaching out to motorcyclists and saying, you know, we really appreciate what you do for us, because you do come here and spend money on a pretty consistent basis. There's no evidence of that whatsoever in Graham County. It's just like, if we didn't have these mountains and we didn't have these roads, we'd be a ghost town. That's what I hear, and that's the way I feel about Graham County. And I think a lot of our guests feel the same way. They're somewhat frustrated that, you know, there just doesn't seem to be any kind of engagement in Graham County to want to attract motorcycles. I went to that Indianapolis show, and there was a guy up there, and I can't remember his exact name, but he's up in Virginia, and he's promoting a new road. Their whole travel tourism has embraced a big brochure, his place of business as like the hub of motorcycling in Virginia. I mean, this was all just like parroting what we've already been trying to do for the last 10, 12, 20 years. But here is a whole state getting involved trying to attract motorcycles to that area.
And I don't disagree with
And,
what you
and
just
they're
said
gonna
about
go
the warm
find
fuzzy.
Virginia, West Virginia, Eastern Tennessee, South Carolina. If we don't keep them here, somebody else will take them. So, you know, I don't know what it takes to get people
A lot of
motivated.
those states, their departments of commerce, travel and tourism, like Tennessee, they just got $8,000 extra dollars. And they give that to some of their TDAs. Carolina doesn't work that way.
Mon-
8 million, sorry.
Monroe
Not
County,
8,000.
Yeah, that's not.
Monroe County,
Well-
Tennessee wants Ron and Nancy to promote Monroe County over there in Tennessee. And that's what Ron and Nancy want.
But that's a Ron and Nancy business decision.
Well, I think what you're saying, John, is true, and I also think that it's been at least, only been here 10 years. I'm not from here, born and raised here, but I know a lot of people that were, and I think that just tourism in general is a new thing to people in Graham County. I mean, I really don't think that, and y'all can correct me, and Connie, you probably know as a commissioner, that it's probably been just within the last 5 years that tourism has really come to the forefront as the economy of this county's future. Before it was manufacturing, before it was logging, before it was all the things that the county has tried to hold on to that have left anyway. And
Yeah.
so I think that it's a mindset, but it's still new. It's a new concept, tourism in general, that people flood into this county during the season, you know, and then they're gone in the wintertime. I do think that's a fairly new,
And that's one of the reasons why Dr. Morris came in. We invited him to come speak because he really did show statistically, and he said out of all his programs, you only get 1 or 2 questions. At the end of our session with those people, he had 10 questions, 10 very good questions about the statistics and the data that he was presenting and its true impact on Graham County. People wanted to go a little, or where did you come up with this number, and how did you get that? And so those folks really did enjoy that presentation.
All the more reason, you hit on it. You know, the economy of Graham County is based on really 2 things: Stanley Furniture and tourism right now.
35%, the opt-in statistics and the market analysis, 35% is, 20% is manufacturing, which is Stanley Furniture, 15% is construction. And that most of those jobs are not here. They're
Exactly,
people
they
work
go
off.
elsewhere. So, I mean, I see us in a pretty dire set of circumstances going
If we don't-
forward.
Absolutely.
Because I don't see Stanley as being a long-term player here. You know, it's a global market, and someday, you know,
We'll be gone.
that's just a matter of time. Because I come from the industrial sector. I watched businesses leave the United States for Vietnam or Cambodia or India or wherever, China. So what we have got is the real world is that the assets of this area are the mountains and the roads and the people.
And the people.
And we're not capitalizing on that. And that, Connie, welcome back.
Thank
We
you.
missed you.
It's good to be back.
We need to get our commissioners to get a lot of things going in this county, of which, we could have capitalized, I'm kind of venting now. We could have capitalized big time on the
It's
moonshine
frustration.
situation. Major draw. I mean, it's global. I had people from all over the world want to know about moonshine when it came to
First time I
business.
saw it was in Houston, Texas.
Moonshine?
First time I ever saw the program, I was in Houston.
Oh, it's a major
It's everywhere.
interest now.
It
We
is.
just so missed it, and we had every element right here. I don't know what it's gonna take to get this county moving in that direction, but some of the core people that could make some changes should jump on that. And if you really wanna see an economy get going, we've gotta stop the roadblocks, and then embracing the people that are actually gonna come here. Because you could have this place flooded with people based on just that show. We're just missing it. It's going elsewhere. But, I guess it's from the standpoint of that I guess Barry and I see, again, dollars rolling on 2 wheels or 4 wheels. They could be here in boats, but there'd be a lot of other things. There should be other things for them to do besides just boating or kayaking or motorcycling. Because a lot of our guests are now asking, what else is there to do in here? Zip lining. And we refer them to all these different places. So,
Women like to shop, there's no shopping here.
yeah, I mean, it all boils down to the fact that there is no reason to be here. I mean, other than just the riding the roads and the scenic mountains and the lakes. Those are our assets. We should play on them.
I think, back to that kind of newness of the tourism, and maybe that's why, and I don't think it's just the motorcyclist, I think it's outsiders. I mean, people coming in to the county. The newness of that is still new. So I think that's where we have the opportunity to work. I mean, really, and that warm fuzzy is going to come. It really is, because it used to, I remember when I first moved here that there were just, you talk to some local people and they did not like the motorcycles at all. They were loud and they were this or that or whatever. Or,
The bad stuff started with the rainbows, but I mean.
right. So, I mean, that's in the past. But what I'm saying is, there has been a huge turnaround because people are recognizing it is good for our economy, and they're contributing to that by opening businesses or by supporting businesses or by being friendly to people and not giving them wrong directions or, I know things, that have happened.
All right, we're talking about, just economy for this area and not having to do anything with motorcycles or cars.
Just tourism.
Just tourism.
Just tourism.
Again, the whole moonshiner thing just was like this big, huge win for this county, and it did never happen. So, it's unfortunate that, we don't have this, drive to come here, the people of interest to come here. We have it, but it's just not being cultivated.
Yeah. And I think that's where,
And
when
we
you.
can't start with travel and tourism, it's got to start from the commissioners.
But I do think that part of it can start with travel and tourism, because if we had our ducks in a row, we'd have a lot more power to do a lot more things. I really do see that. And I see the other thing that I think a lot of us within the county, and I would include Stokoe Valley Center in this as well, is that we have got to reach out in our region. We are so in what's going on in our county. Swain County, there's nothing that we're looking to move the drive about and share that within Swain County. The more things that we can do regionally, the more partners we have, the more resources we have. And if we don't do that and we continually say, well, that's Swain County, or we can't, in our visitor center, we can't have brochures for another county or another attraction. We already know people come here and they stay here and they leave during the day to go other places. I think we need to just work within our area better and have more partnerships with people so that we can get the benefit of the person staying in Swain County, you know, their bed tax, they're getting the bed tax, but they come over here and then they find out about the Iron Horse, or they find a good restaurant, or they go to the village and go out on a boat, or whatever it is. But we just keep things to ourselves. We're not spreading ourselves out. And the Travel and Tourism Board could work with other travel and tourism boards in this region.
Have you seen other counties do that?
Yes.
And how do they make that work?
Well,
What do they do?
Like, one of the things I know that we've done with the Swain TDA is, you know, we might have a project that, like the drive about, and we've said, we would really like to expand this and include artisans within Swain County. And so we've gone to the TDA board and asked for their partnership so that we can have their backing. We haven't come to this Travel and Tourism Board, but this is for next year. So that we can have funds, you know, to be able to make a bigger marketing presence. So instead of 7,500 brochures, maybe we print 15,000 brochures, or maybe we do a digital ad, or maybe we do some other media, but we have more money to do that. A prime example is the new visitor center over at Stokoe Valley Center. So we got $10,000 from the Blue Ridge National Heritage Area as a grant. You know, that's nobody's out-of-pocket money. It's a grant that was awarded for a project. But this board met $7,500 of that, and so now we have an expanded visitor center. We have YouTube videos, which we never had before. We're working to do more county videos so that we can be able to post in a whole different realm, you know, the Blue Ridge National Heritage Area, about the things we have to offer in Graham County, which includes motor tourism. So you're getting a whole different market segment. So you leverage what you have to get additional. And that's what I think we could do regionally that we're not doing. So we've had this economy discussion. We'll move to, you know, add to let's have an agenda that we can start working on April 1st. I think it includes the budget, but I think it includes these issues. And back to kind of that tourism plan that we, you know, Great has been talking about for quite a while. I'd like to address that and have that put on the agenda there instead of just bringing it up at a meeting. And then we can just get through what we have on the agenda today. And we'll work that day on the budget and these other issues, and then we'll set another date.
I got a question for travel tourism and for the commissioners as well. Since you do not still sit on that?
I do, on the commission board.
Yeah. All right. How come there isn't a billboard on any of the major roads that come to Graham County that welcomes visitors? Period. You know,
How come
welcome to
there's no
Graham
wayfinding
County.
signage? How come you drive in and you wouldn't be able to find, you know where Fontana Dam is and you know where Joyce Kilmer Forest is? I mean, that's one of the things about a tourism plan. You know, it includes branding. I mean, the county doesn't have an identity. We have nothing to say, this is what we're known for. You know, maybe it's back to that moonshining thing, I don't know.
There you go.
But we have no identity. We have no logo. We have no branding. That's all part of why we need a tourism plan.
Foundation.
There you
Okay,
go.
we gotta
So we're
have-
hitting on some nerves here.
Yeah, well, we gotta have
All
that.
right. So, welcome to Graham County,
We have,
at home
we have
of.
the rock signs with the big blue wooden.
That's
saying,
welcome.
I was thinking-
That's all we have.
That's pretty.
That's
meager.
standard everywhere.
Really? So we really,
Need
we
something.
should have, it's gonna cost you $200 a month. You might even negotiate a better deal than that with Allison or Sandland or somebody. But it says home of, Joyce Kilmer, or, home of, something, I don't know.
Part of what Beth is talking about though is once we get a brand and a logo and something that, if you've been in Bryson City within the past month, you've seen their new wayfinding signs. If you've ever tried to go do anything in their town, we had never been to Road to Nowhere, honestly. So we had our map out. Thank goodness we didn't follow our map and we followed the wayfinding signs because it got us there like that.
But I think even what I'm saying more than that is all of that we're talking about is still putting the cart before the horse, because we have no plan on paper to say, We need branding, we need wayfinding signs, we need these billboards on all the entrances. We need, you know, X amount of dollars in marketing per year. We need X amount of dollars in digital. We have no basis to start from. We just throw these things around. Yeah, we need all of these things. But what we really need,
Priorities, you need to
right, and there's some
prioritize.
low-hanging fruit
And
too.
then
When
put
you
an
put it
action
all
plan.
out there.
An action plan has to be
Yeah.
in place
When-
with timelines
Yes,
and measures.
deliverables and people that are responsible for those, which some of that would come back to the Travel and Tourism Board, some would come to the county commission. You know, just like the byway, you know, the designation and why that was taken away in a section. And I mean, there's lots of things that I think the DOT, I mean, that's got, that comprehensive tourism plan has got to include DOT because a big part of our tourism is motor tourism. And if we don't have them as a partner and we can't work with them, U.S. Forest Service, I mean, that's a big part of our tourism too, the people that come to hike or come to the National Forest. Or come over to the park. So all I'm saying is we all can talk about what our needs are, but we need a plan in place to say, okay, in 3 years, this is what we want, you know, and have a timeline and really have something that we can work towards. And then in 5 years, in 10 years. Because otherwise we have no control whatsoever about what happens. And when opportunities like the Moonshiner comes up, we're scrambling for anything. We don't know what to do.
Yeah, being an outsider, I don't know all the people to call. I don't know who to rub elbows with.
But you're an insider
That's-
now.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of like in the abyss
In the middle.
of Graham County. But, you know, another thing that I want to bring up, commissioners, I don't know who the DOT is that needs to get the overlooks cleared and some of the, you know, the
David
trees
Dodson
and
is
stuff.
gonna be
Who is?
clearing this, David Dodson.
Uh-huh.
This is a citizens group at this point, is
Where's
gonna be clearing
Wesley
Stocola
Brown
Valley.
staff is the person to contact, the DOT. His
Wesley
office
Brown.
is in Andrews.
Okay. But, you know, I mean, all of our overlooks are starting to get to the point where you can't even see, you know, the vistas, you know? That's a big problem, you know?
Well,
It's
I mean,
gonna cost a lot of money.
again, that's why it needs to be, you know, we need to have those strategies and bring in those partners. I mean, they're here, and if we reach out to them, and I'm not just talking travel and tourism, I think GREAT has done a great job, that always seems to happen, about involving partners. The conference that we went to in Abington, Virginia, it had to be a cultural arts organization, a public lands officer, and then the travel and tourism people, and so Tabitha came to that. And part of what we came out of there with is we've got to have some kind of plan to move us forward, and that includes the branding, that includes the wayfinding signage. I don't even know all the things that we've talked about. We did some asset mapping about all the things that we have, and I'd be glad I brought some of that with me today to share that with you. We're moving forward with a comprehensive plan, and I say we as in GREAT. That, you know, we're applying for a grant next week. We're gonna hire someone to help us with that. We need the support of travel and tourism. We need the support of the county to do that. But it is, a lot of things that are happening are citizen-based. But GREAT, we have those partnerships already, and so, you know, we just need, that is gonna have to be included in that plan. And, you know, the Forest Service, DOT, and other, I mean, there's quite a few others. So we're needing travel and tourism support in doing that and working on that with
There's a
us.
lot of stuff that happens every day that I would have y'all's emails so full if I reported everything that happens every day. Those overlooks, that's almost every other day emails of people kind of, not screaming back, but you know, well, what about this one, let's get together. I mean, it's every other day there's emails about the overlooks. Because if we don't get them done by April, there's a day in there, it won't get done this year.
And it'll just
Because
be
there's
worse.
bats, that you
Bats.
can't cut trees after a certain day in April.
Just like we can't work in the creek until April because of the trout moratorium.
There are just certain
They
things,
start,
so
those bats start.
there is, yeah, there's lots that's
They need to put some more of them launching poles.
The squirrel jumps.
Oh, that's where the hawks sit on and catch them squirrels.
Yeah, that's exactly.
But also, there is gonna be a chainsaw, for citizen groups. If you wanna get chainsaw certified to be able to work with the Forest Service, you have to have your CPR license, and then you're able to take that. And I know a handful of people that are, they can go cut them.
I mean, I think the real unfortunate part, and it's happening everywhere, and we learned this, I think the road you're talking about in Virginia is the back end of the Dragon.
Yeah.
Well, they were represented at this conference that we went to, and their state did get behind them, and their group, we talked to Tabitha talked to their group quite a bit. But anyway, one of the things that is happening all over is the budget cuts for the U.S. Forest Service. And it's just, it used to be there was picnic tables and trash cans at the ones on 28 going out towards Fontana. And there was people that had jobs to go pick up the trash and make sure, there was employment around that. And, the budget has just been slashed so much. It's, it now is, unfortunately, citizens that are having to take responsibility because it's our livelihood, business livelihood.
Fontana actually pays for all those overlooks all the way over the beach.
By the way, it's just so unfortunate, but it's not just here. It's not just in North Carolina.
That's all the discussion.
Yeah, okay. Well, everybody agree, let's get back to the brochure and
Yes,
and
please.
go through that.
So on the Cherahela Skyway brochure, just to point out the big changes, that way we won't spend a lot of time. As you open it all the way up in the upper left-hand corner, and I worked with Kilboy on this and took recommendations from him as to what pictures would be good for the spots that we set. So we put kind of a little cool funky car over there on the left, the T-Rexes that come into the area. In the center top, we wanted to show the road and the beautiful greenery with that yellow pop motorcycle. So that's one of the reasons why that particular picture was chosen. And if you fold it back in the upper left, that's more of the fall type of shot instead of another green shot to give some diversity. And again, keeping the Corvette shot on the front, we feel like this was the best representation because the original picture on the front, that view does not exist anymore. And it was on the Tennessee side when it was first accomplished. This picture right here, just so you'll know. That view right there, that picture, you cannot go get it in high definition because it does not exist. So that's, and it's also, you can see how newly paved, there's no striping down on the road at that point or anything, but it was a beautiful shot, but unfortunately we had to work with something else and, yeah, and
Seen it
Tennessee's,
a million times.
yeah, Tennessee's shot is more of this one, and we kind of have used that in some of our stuff as well. They use some of our things every so often. So we're going with this lovely shot. Thank goodness for Kilboy. He really made a long, tedious process of going through 10 years of pictures really quick for me. So I really, if you see him, tell him thank you because he really did us a fast service to get this project completed. So that is on the Skyway brochure, and if you'll turn real quick to the county brochure, there was lots of adjustments on this front page. The picture that he chose for the center triangle was a veteran. I think he kind of knew this guy, but his bike with the American flag on the front center is the picture we decided to go in the front center. And then we had to find a picture to fit in that sliver over there on the right-hand side, so we were able to find a car club that fit nicely there and moved that biking picture down to the right-hand corner on that front page. So that is your new front page there.
Well, just as I was critical of the last, this is much better. Okay, so does that cancel out,
Well, when I came to tears.
Did it feel better?
Just so you'll also know, I came to tears when I opened this up because I thought it was so striking and stunning, and I was very proud.
I'm proud to be,
Yeah.
see
This looks, and if you
a
wouldn't have said
patriotic
anything.
motorcycle
Yeah.
picture.
If you wouldn't have said anything, it wouldn't have gotten this good, because really,
There you go.
everybody I've showed this to, it's that good. It has brought emotion to people when they look at that front
Sure.
cover, so.
There you go.
I love that, I love it.
Can I go back real
The
quick?
heartland
Yes,
of
please.
moonshine right here.
To the
Amen.
Skyway, I see on this one from Tennessee, it's got the America's Byways on there. If it's something that says America, people pay attention. The whole thing's an American byway, right? would we not use that?
I will have to check
It's
on
a
that
tiny little
because-
thing here and a tiny little.
Yeah, I'll have to check on it.
Do y'all wanna check
on
that
our
out?
designation. Yeah, I just got that one in the mail about 2 weeks ago.
I just think it'd be good if you could fit it
Okay.
somewhere.
Hang on.
So I take it this is the back cover?
No, again, remember what that does is this right here is in the rack, and then when you open this up, this will be the page that you see. And then this opens up and makes that
Okay.
4-panel brochure.
Okay.
So now we're on, and and again, if you guys wouldn't have said anything, the roads page here had the roads coming down the center. This is a much better placement with this yellow pop motorcycle. Also, so you can read the lettering a lot better, because if you remember before, the lettering on that right-hand side, it was so dark that you really couldn't see some of the lettering underneath whichever section was there. It was rearranged a little bit. But that is a much better picture, and I'm tickled to death with it.
Overall, I'd say it's 100% better.
Yeah.
We'll go with it now, but we've got some branding going on with that yellow motorcycle.
Oh, yeah, love the yellow motorcycle. And the next page where there was a significant change, and again, it won't be noticed by many, but anybody in the graphic arts or anybody in advertising marketing will appreciate the back of the map. Whatever was in here before, it kind of looked like a faded old Graham County map. There's now Car Club in the background there. Again, you can't, unless you're really looking for certain things, but there's been a lot of thought process into where we're going with this. And again, the next time we print it, it can be made even better as we see things going forward. Those were the major changes for that part of the brochure, because again, the inserts, that was sent out, it had 4 picture change on it, if I'm not mistaken. That was already sent out to you guys. And then the motorcycle insert is not finished. That's gonna take a little bit, because I'm gonna go with a different company, with the motorcycle insert. A different graphic artist.
So if there's any word changing to this, we need to get that to you right away.
Honestly, at this point, I gave it to Lisa to approve. So hopefully there's not any more word changes, because we've been 4.5 months.
Well, but if there are, do we need to get those to you?
Yeah, because I already passed it out last time. I guess it's because you weren't here.
Well, I mean, just if something's wrong.
Yeah, yeah, pretty quick, because if I'm gonna have it in time. And just so you'll know, there are some printing companies that it doesn't cost that much more to have X amount of boxes done. It would be 2 cents to have the insert already put in, and the little piece of plastic sticker already put on it, so that they're ready to just pick out, write the name tag on it and mail it.
There you go.
So, and we do have quite a few leads from Guest Quest, that if we ever wanted to send a mailing out to a bunch of people that have already requested for information, we've got a lot of, it'd be very easy to run those sticker sheets and pop them off, lay them down there, and all the people that have requested information.
Are we gonna have this digitally as well?
Yes, but that's in my director updates, we'll talk about that in a second.
Would these hard copies be available for like us?
I don't see why not.
Okay.
That's
How
kind of
many
the whole
do you have
idea.
printed?
I have quotes here, that start out for $10,000 for 1223. That's the Skyway brochure and the
1223.
So 1,200,000.
1,223 for the Skyway.
How much was that? Is it based on 1,000? How many?
This is your business, isn't it?
Yeah,
These-
pretty
here, Just
much.
look at it real quick. Be it faster.
Well, it wasn't my business, but, packaging was, but we've been buying a lot of printing, so, and a lot of printers, so. I'm just curious.
This is just the only quote I've gotten back so far, so I'm gonna do this with John. The Cherahela Skyway, again, for $10,000 was $1,223. The Graham County brochure for 10,000 is 1,223. The, wait a second. Printed that one twice. The insert for 6,000 is 693. And then they were gonna give us a discount if we did both projects with them, there was gonna be a break on that. The numbers don't match. To do a comparison, you have to break it out yourself and figure out. But it looked like it was about a $200 to $300 break, from a quick calculation of myself if we did both projects. with
Now,
them.
which brochure is this one here?
This is gonna be both, so it's the Graham County and the Cherahalen done together, so.
And how
For
much is that?
20,000 of both
10 cents a
together,
piece.
10,000
Okay.
each, it's 2135.
Because basically, yeah, that's pretty cheap if you
That's
can get
very-
that done for 10 cents a piece.
That's, well, ask me who it is and I'll tell you who the printer is. I don't
Who
wanna
is
put
it,
that-
Tabitha? Who's
And
the
I don't want to
printer?
put it on video.
Okay.
But that's been our printer all along. We have a nice relationship with them. I am still waiting on a few quotes from a few other people, but yeah, I think they do a really good job.
Yeah. I don't have any problem with that as long as the price is right. You know, I would be cautious if, you know, you've got some events listed in here that hopefully will continue, but if they don't, then you've got brochures that are kind of,
As of right now, the things that are in there, they're scheduled to go forward almost, I mean, at least for 2 more years. You're gonna have your Heritage Festival, that's already been talked about by the town of Robbinsville. The hill climb, unless there were to be some sort of tragic accident, I foresee them here for a very long time.
Okay.
The Chimney Rock Hill Climb lasted 30 years.
you know, as long as you're not dating something.
Well, I
by
think,
putting-
we might need to think about this Winterfest.
Okay.
From my-
Actually, the town of Robbinsville is
Is they
picking
gonna
up
do
the
it?
parade and the tree lighting,
It's
so,
gonna be with their events planner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Literally, yeah.
yeah, so that's good to go. They might call it something else, but I think Winterfest, people would understand, hey, there's an activity going on in the winter months.
Right. Okay.
So that is the brochure. And I really need somebody to make a motion.
So, would someone like to make a motion to approve the Cherry Hill Skyway brochure for printing as produced here?
I'll make that motion.
And a second,
Second.
all in favor? And would someone like to make a motion to approve the Graham County, North Carolina visitor brochure as presented here?
So moved.
Second?
You got me with the flag.
Yeah.
Who was second?
All in favor?
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is very nice. now.
It's very,
It's very good.
Glad you're happy. I'm beaming, just so you'll know. I think it looks awesome.
Proud mother.
I am a proud mother on this.
you should be, that's yours.
Yeah, takes a lot of time.
We already talked about the occupancy webinar, April 2nd. We're going to be trying again to get all TDAs. Darlene, if you ever see Jessica, just remind her that I am trying to get in touch with her about that. Jessica Cooper. Yeah, what did I say?
You said Jessica.
Yeah,
She was at the EDC meeting.
okay. Yeah, because
I
if we
don't
get,
see her
if we
very
get
often, but
everybody
I
there, I
do.
think we'll be much more successful. We've already talked about the budget workshop. We have that scheduled now April 1st at 9 a.m. I'm going to skip that Go magazine for a second. Spring break runs the same time as our next planned meeting. Is it okay with everybody? Could I get a motion to change the meeting from April,
17th.
from the 10th to the 17th, due to spring break?
I make a motion that we change the next travel and tourism board meeting from April 10th to April 17th.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
And I will be sure and get something out to the newspaper and the county and post it on the door as we're required to do. Did anybody get a chance to look at the information that I skipped scanned in and sent to you about the Go magazine? If you didn't, it's okay, but if we have excess money, if you have a real strong desire on something that you would like for us to spend our money on, you need to let me know. If you think that something has really worked very for your business, you need to let me know. It can be duplicated. Same with you, John. Darlene, you're gonna have to share some of your secrets if something's really worked for Fontana. I would like to do some things that have print digital combined, meaning there is a printed piece and there's something digital that you can get the click-through marketing from. I would like for it to be something like that, not anything that you can't track, if that's okay with everything. But, you know, we did talk about a few things a couple of months ago that we wanted to spend some money on, but we needed to see where we were with the budget. Now we know where we are. So we've got some money we can spend some additional.
Were they
funds
good
on.
ideas?
They were decent, yeah, it was some magazine, it was some reader lead service, we talked about a few of those things. We did talk about going with the Department of Commerce on a media trip. They recommend that I do not do New York at first. They want me to get my feet wet at some place like Raleigh or Charlotte, to then get myself prepared for something like that. And I can appreciate that because you do learn so much the first time you do something. Darlene's been on those. She can help prep me for those kind of media trips.
Well, I was kind of hoping you'd share with us what you learned at the governor's meeting.
Okay, yeah, that's last year's conference, new experience, very overwhelming, too much stuff to do when you get back, but you got to think about foundation. This year, a much different experience for me because I was really able to focus on, instead of spending so much time in that room with all those vendors, I was able to spend more time with those relationships of the people that are going to be able to help us. I don't know if some of you are members on Facebook of Graham County LRB. One of the things that I did have come up, I thought Fontana would take it, but you know, we're at the time of year where some people don't have money. There was an $11,000 ad that she was going to sell me for $6,000. That's a 50% cut, and I was going to try and co-op that page somehow, but when you're in the middle of meetings and you don't really have a computer to shoot emails out to, but I made that relationship really strong now. She tends to have brilliant spots like that every other month. This is with Atlanta Magazine. We're gonna be able to take advantage of that again. So, and there was other people like that, like TripAdvisor right now. If you go back to your business and go to TripAdvisor and type in Bryson City, Bryson City has a page that you pay for the click-throughs for people going to that page. I have a meeting set up with somebody that could help us get that page set up for Graham County, Robbinsville. You know, we'll have to kind of, I think it's going to be Graham County is the way we're
They're
going to
the
have to
number
go.
one go-to.
Oh, yeah, that's
in
where
the
I go
world.
to when I'm looking for a hotel. So
5 years
some
ago,
of these
there was
kind of
nothing.
people that really have a good digital presence, they were there. We were able to talk and to get some of those discussions started instead of just kind of gathering from everybody, which was what last year was about. I was able to be a little bit more focused, made a nice relationship. If you guys have ever seen the marketing pieces from Transylvania County, that's the land of waterfalls. They look and feel a lot like what we are, except they're a little more sophisticated. I really like the graphics people and the things that they've been doing. So I've made a nice connection with that lady, and that's who I think I'm gonna have do the motor tourism piece.
What's TripAdvisor wanting to charge you for that page?
I have my meeting next week,
Oh, okay.
yeah, on the, it hasn't made it into here yet. The paper? Yeah, paper, virtual. But I think it's next week, probably on Tuesday, because I've got jury duty possibly on Monday. So I hope I'm not getting on the case. The actual, where you pull off to the lessons, the speaking parts, I didn't agree this year with some, because my husband, went with me. We conquer and divide. He goes to the classes that I'd like to get a little information, but I go to the ones I really feel like that would help us. His pitches were total people that they were selling things, and I don't think that those kind of conference things should be allowed to have somebody have a room to pitch. This should be where we are able to gain information that are going to help propel the TDAs and the accommodation partners that go forward. So I gave that feedback to the Department of Commerce that I don't want to be sitting in a sales pitch. I want to learn. I met a lot of academias at all the universities. I did learn that for our cabin holders, and even I think with the hotels, there was a study done out on the coast with the effects of winter and how much money that the accommodation partners could save over a period of time for just simple things like putting the coat around the hot water heaters. That's a $20 expenditure that it pays itself off within 6 months, but you have this month's savings over a certain amount of year. They also talked about light bulbs and weather stripping and different things we all know we need to do, but when you start seeing it in numbers and how it impacts your bottom dollar, those are some really important things that
This is
we
going
should
on
be
at the
able to
governor's
pass
conference?
Yes. It's really, everybody should, and a lot of counties take people from their boards.
I've
Bryson
been to those,
City, I've
and
been-
what I found most useful there is seeing how we compare to the rest of the state and what they're doing to really improve their tourism rates.
Yeah.
And you can get that information there, and they're always happy. The people who have had the best growth are delighted to talk to you about how they did it.
They're willing to
And you can
share.
bring that, how did we compare with the rest of the state in our growth for
Oh, I mean,
tourism
we
here?
have a lot of work to do, but that's okay.
No, I mean, what was the state overall, the growth in tourism, do you know?
4, and we were about 4. So we were tracking right on. Hi,
you that class.
what time was it?
5 o'clock.
I'm at 5 o'clock. So we're running a little late today. But it was invaluable, and if you, I invite anybody, I'm gonna be putting a newsletter out to the accommodation partners that if they'd like to come and sit down and go over all the different buy-in things, because there's some cheap buy-ins that really could probably make a significant increase on somebody's bottom dollar, the way people search. So I'd be glad to share that kind of information with them. Our meetings have never lasted 2 hours, guys, so I've always kind of booked us till 5. There is a clogging class waiting in here. So I would be more than welcome to email you my director's update, just so you can kind of see what's happened this past month since we've been together. And I would really encourage you to get something to me about how you want the money spent, so we can try and make some sort of a plan to spend that extra monies, because I've sent out many, many emails, and if you search me by name, I'm sure all my emails will pull up, and you can go back and look at some of those different things I've sent out over the past year that we've not gone forward with, but it's kind of because we didn't really have the funds there.
Well, maybe on the April 1st budget meeting, the first part of the day, we can concentrate on how we want to spend the remaining funds that we have in this year's budget, and we'll have the information from Becky and Tabitha, and then we'll work on next year's budget. That'd be fine if you want to. Are y'all okay with her just emailing that, since some
Director's
they're taking
update.
a class? I also have the information from the workshop we went to in Abington, where it's the back of 129, about some of the work we did about, just very in the infancy of a tourism plan. And for those of you, we printed these copies of the actual data from the visitor profile study. So if you'd like one of these, they're here to take, and maybe we could talk about some of that. And Barry, if you could maybe put your data in an email, just so we have something we can print out and put with this data, and we'll just keep compiling as we go along, so we can make some of those decisions.
And we'll get a copy of Travis's Heritage Festival and My Hill Climb stuff
Okay.
to put with it as well.
Okay. Could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Second? All in favor?
Connie, and who was second?
I'll just conclude that Tabitha